Why did that teacher get fired from your school? One was such an unlikable teacher they were asked to retire. One was watching PRN in class. One sent someone else's dick pics to a student's mom. One robbed a bank. My high school of 500 students lost 5 teachers last year because they all had a relationship with the same 15-year-old girl. 1 P.E. Teacher got called out for having erections while watching the girls play sports. Got confronted by the principal, to whom he told it wasn't true. That it just seemed like he had erections because he has a really big dick. The principal, male, was not amused. The P.E. teacher was fired that same week. She wasn't enforcing detention, letting students leave early, or just signing their name for them. She was also the mom of a student. They fired her and all the students that regularly received detention rioted. Jumping on cars, flipping trash cans, they set one on fire, and pulled the fire alarm 7 times in a day. I forget how it was quelled, but it only lasted a day. Had a history teacher get fired for going off syllabus and spending time on the pre-Judaic flood stories. One of maybe 2 reasons I'm obsessed with Mesopotamian, Anatolian, Egyptian history now. He was playing his guitar for students at my elementary school. He had been warned before, but the kids enjoyed it, so he continued to play it for them anyways. One day, the assistant principal was lurking in the hallway and wandered to his classroom. She saw him playing his guitar and fired him on the spot. A whole lot of students were crying that day because he was an amazing guy. Edit. More information. This took place in a small, rural town in Georgia back in the early 2000s. He wasn't the music teacher. He just used to bring his guitar and play songs randomly on some days and the kids enjoyed it. He'd been warned multiple times by his higher-ups. Why? IDK. He was a great teacher. He thought that before the break, he could play something for us one last time during the last week of school. It just happened to be the worst possible timing, while the assistant principal was walking through the halls. He didn't come back to teach at our school when classes started again. If I recall, he got a job teaching at a different school. The art teacher at my middle school was known to be very suspicious. I've heard that he would take pictures of girls and touch girls. And adding to the fact that he called 2 girls lesbians in front of the whole class. It was just very weird. All these rumors and he got fired eventually. I can't imagine how his wife must have felt when she asked why he got fired. They didn't fire him based on rumors. My money's on they had solid evidence against him, but it wasn't made public. My AP English teacher got high on painkillers, broke into someone's house, and ate their soup. Kindergarten teacher would dig furrows into kids' arms with her long, sharp nails by basically holding their arms real tightly. She did this if she caught them misbehaving during recess. It happened to me when I was running when I shouldn't have. I think this was nearly 40 years ago. I showed the principal my arm as he was walking out one day and she was fired on the spot. I think I was 4 at the time and didn't realize exactly what I did at the time. Crazy shitty. I went to a pretty conservative Catholic school. In 7th grade we had a music teacher that pretty much only taught us lyrics to Bob Dylan songs and other 60s hippie music. He was gone the next year. Our elementary school just got a new principal, FCKUMR Tepner, who was on some F-King power trip or some shitty, and he fired all the newer teachers at my school including my 5th grade teacher. MR Deathloff. If you're out there, you will always be the best teacher I've ever had. Apparently he called a girl a WH Ray or something similar and they were in 7th grade. They seemed like a cool science teacher before though. He said whoever threw that paper. A teacher gave alcohol to some students in a field trip out of the country. They students were 16-17 and they asked if they could order beer. Later they took photos and it was all over Facebook. This was years after I graduated, but rumors spread quickly. Showed R-rated movies to middle schoolers. Shame. Geeky AV teacher that everyone loved. Knew he was a geek and owned it. Caught in a predator sting trying to solicit underage girls. The kicker was a spring school levy was coming up. Local police conspired with the school district to hide the charges for 3 weeks until the levy was passed. Someone substituted his class for 3 weeks. Yeah, everyone was both devastated and pissed. The district ended the school year early. One of my high school teachers was caught on to catch a predator. He pushed some dumbass kid who hit him against a wall. So he defended himself? Or he straight up didn't show up to work one Monday. Didn't call in to arrange a sub or anything. He ghosted the school for a whole week and then tried to come in the following Monday like nothing happened. We also had a 5th grade teacher overdose on meth, but I honestly don't know if she got fired or resigned. It didn't happen at school. He was caught trying to solicit a child prostitute during a sex trafficking sting. He was a social studies teacher at my middle school. And the arrest made local news when I was a freshman. Really shocked the district. Edit. Because a lot of people are asking for details. This happened in San Antonio, Texas in about 2013. My AP Chem teacher had an affair with the principal. Principal got fired too. I felt bad for her. They didn't do anything on school property. And it didn't impact her performance in the classroom. Also, the school wasn't able to find a qualified teacher to replace her halfway through the year. So we were all FK'd come test time at the end of the year. Not one of us passed that AP test. Dating a 16-year-old female student. He was also a pay teacher. Edit. It's always the pay teachers. He was legally blind and ended up stabbing and killing his wife. I heard a rumor that my favorite teacher from 9th grade got fired when I was in 10th grade because he left his class unattended. Honestly, amid all the pedophilia and rampant alcoholism. TW. Suicide. Our principal was escorted out by 2 police. Come to find out it was because he was caught committing fraud. He would assign students to classes without telling them to make it seem there were more kids in, let's say, the art department, so that the department would receive more funding from the government to continue. He meant well, but students caught on when we moved to college and transcripts from high school had a whole page F-saw withdrawals. It really messed us up. About 2 weeks later he hung himself. Left behind a wife and kids. It really hit me hard because I almost dropped out of high school after 2 of my friends committed suicide. He was the one that got me counseling, helped me graduate, and encouraged me to go to college. I would not be here if it weren't for him. It just really hurt to know that while he was helping me accomplish that, he did the same thing only a month or 2 later. We planted trees for him to remember him by. RIPMR. Woodcroft. You meant well. Had child PRN on his computer. Teachers at my high school got fired on a pretty regular basis. Principal was a narcissist, but here's one of the rare ones we actually heard about. The school went into lockdown because someone was seen hopping over the fence onto campus at the start of the school day. Freshman geography teacher locked his door. Didn't control his class. Wouldn't let one of the students back in. And jumped at every sound he heard. For comparison, the sub in senior literature next door didn't have a key to lock the door, but grabbed the handle, got on the floor, and planted both his feet on the frame so that the door couldn't be opened. I think the dude was a linebacker for football. 2. There were like 3 computers in the teacher's personal computer in most classrooms. One day they found child PRN on the teacher's computer and was fired. It wasn't until a couple years later did they find out that it was a student that put it there because she was mad she didn't get a better grade on her paper. I don't know why she was using the teacher's computer or what happened to either of them after it was found out. She stepped out of class to talk to the principal and a student was going to hide her thermos. They opened the lid to smell it. He was accused and caught on camera grabbing female high school students' butts in the crowded hallways. He had numerous accusations brought against him for cornering female students when they were alone, giving special treatment to females in his class, making SZOD comments in class, and even following a student home one day in his car. I was one of the students who had to report and give a written account of my interactions with him. He was fired after the police got involved. Thank FCK. Hooked up with 2 teen girls at the school and smoked weed at his house with them. Janitor filmed his teenage daughters in the shower. This was 25 years ago. So it was an elaborate rig using cameras that had film cassette tapes. Premeditated. Creepy shitty. We looked through that house when it came on the market for sale and it had an awful feel, only realized later why. They found out he was gay. He was a chaperone for the 8th grade East Coast trip. And parents of boys got all up in arms that he had access to their hotel rooms. No student has ever accused him of anything inappropriate. Staring at the girls' asses while they were doing squats. Strictest teacher in the history of the school left his laptop up with dominatrix PRN. Strict marking test sheets. But dominated in the bed sheets. My football coach bullied the gay kid on the team enough that it had a big enough impact on him that the kid killed himself. The coach was mentioned in the note and the teacher coach resigned. The coach was a total assault to people he didn't like, including me and a few others on the team. Since he wasn't allowed to kick kids off the team, he would pretty much bully the kids to quit. Nonst on some kid playing Pokemon Go outside school also had child PRN on laptop. For the non-Brits, nonce is British slang for pedo. One teacher had sex with a student during a marching band, trip. She FK'd a 12-year-old. Went to jail. FK'd him again. Went to jail again. And then married him when he turned 18. Child PRN.